Nyo, 1 minute to go. Sige, sige.
Kailan mo yun?
Welcome to Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang, your intel in the Philippine markets and the economy. In the headlines, Malacanang says the Philippines opted out of the 0% tariff concession given by the U.S., Southeast Asian nations to protect key domestic sectors. But the business sector has voiced discontent. We speak with PCCI Chair George Barcelon, member of the ASEAN Business Advisory Council Philippines. He's just arrived in Manila after joining President Marcos's ASEAN delegation to Kuala Lumpur. Australia looks to increase trade and investments with the Philippines as both nations toughen up on regional security challenges. In our inaugural segment, Diplomat's Corner, we speak with Mark Innes-Brown, Australian ambassador to the Philippines, in studio. And in the U.S., the Federal Reserve cuts rates by 25 basis points, bringing it to its lowest level in 3 years. The Independent Commission for Infrastructure has recommended filing of plunder and bribery charges against 6 officials, including Senators Joel Villanueva and Jinggoy Estrada, for using flood control projects to earn kickbacks. The ICI says these officials possibly committed plunder, direct or indirect bribery, corruption of public officials, and violation of the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. In its interim report, the ICI details an elaborate scheme by officials from the Bulacan 1st District Engineering Office to give kickbacks and cash advances to legislators. The commission says there's no denying that these advances were given to lawmakers who have the power of the purse and the power to influence the DPWH in awarding projects to favored contractors.
This would trigger the payment or obligations or SOP to the proponent. An advance payment of 10% of the budget allocation when the net is released, while the remaining 15% would be paid off to the proponent when the GAA is passed. This 25% payoff is advanced by the contractors to ensure that the project will be awarded to them. No one will be spared in this fight against corruption. Politicians and government officials will be investigated and charged by credible evidence.
Meanwhile, in a press conference while in Malaysia for the ASEAN Summit, President Marcos acknowledged the public's frustration that the corruption probe has been moving slowly. But he stressed that due process must be followed to ensure that those involved are properly brought to justice. And just as the ASEAN summit wraps up, yet another point of discontent surfaces from the business sector. The Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry got word that the Philippines is not one of the ASEAN nations given tariff perks by President Trump during the sidelines of the ASEAN summit in Kuala Lumpur. Malacanang has since clarified the country opted out of the offer to protect local industries and prioritize food security, and only 3 ASEAN members reportedly accepted the deal in exchange for fully opening their markets to American goods. This adds to growing frustration from business, labor, and civil society groups already demanding accountability and restitution from corrupt practices in government. Well, with us now for more, fresh from Kuala Lumpur, is Chairman George Barcelon of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Good seeing you again, George. When did you get back?
Good morning, Cathy. I came back Tuesday.
All right, so that's 48 hours ago. When did you get wind
That's
of the no tariff perks handed out by Trump?
Well, that was part of the deal that President Trump offered to the 3 countries because the 3, primarily the conflict between Cambodia and Thailand. And I believe that the Prime Minister of Malaysia, Ibrahim, offered to sort of moderate through the support of President Trump. And we were surprised also because after the signing of the announcement, it was followed up by the agreement on zero tariff for the 3 countries. We were sort of left out in the cold, to be honest. But I heard that there's some reasons for that, according to Department of Trade and Industries and Secretary Frederico. But if you recall, in the last reciprocal tariff that was handed to the Philippines of 19%, we gave them a lot also. The Americans would enjoy zero tariff of many of their products, and also sort of a revival of the Lauro-Langley agreement, wherein American companies would be given the same right as Filipinos in exploring our natural resources. Now, I don't know whether those will be worked on. We haven't heard any development on that. But we gave quite a lot also in the previous negotiation. So we hope that we shouldn't be left out in a way that if we can get something more, a reduction on the reciprocal tariff that's imposed on us.
So, George, left out in the cold, but what do you make of the palace's reasoning? Because as far as the palace is concerned, the Philippines opted out. It did not get left out of the tariff perks. It opted out because the government wanted to protect the key industries from being fully open to foreign competition.
I'll go into specifics such as our export to the U.S. and the garments. We've been asking for quite some time whether if we should get a free trade agreement with U.S. So that our export on garments can be given the least tariff or even better, zero tariff. And also our electronic sector, which is our biggest export to the United States. So we would like to have selected sectors or industry that would be given this zero tariff rating for us to be more competitive.
But
now,
garments,
I don't know the details. Yeah. I don't know the details of what were given by the other 3 ASEAN countries, but apparently, just hearing that they're getting zero rated seems to that they have some advantage over us.
Garments and electronics not part of the industry cited by Secretary Dec Go. In a statement by the Palace Secretary herself, Claire Castro, said exactly that we're trying to protect several industries in the Philippines, such as rice, corn, sugar, and poultry. What do you make of it?
Yes, that's one of the reasons why we have been dragging our foot on the Indo-Pacific economic framework. Primarily, that may come into effect. So we have heard from the farmers that they should be protected on their side of their sector. I can understand that. So we'll see. We'll see how this pans out.
And do you intend to speak with the government in due course? I mean, what's the next point of action then, feeling left out in the cold?
Well, on the agri sector, I know that there's been clamoring now on the farmer as far as were bringing in more rice. Well, I can understand because we had a typhoon, and the flooding in certain areas did affect our volume of harvest. But I'd like to think that the communication with the DTI and the agricultural sector will continue to work out things so that we will not be put at a disadvantageous position.
All right, even before the flood control corruption came up, Trump's tariff took much of our concerns from the start of this year, from an initial 17% that became 20%. And then after Marcos's visit at the White House last July, became 19%. And now the government's opt out, or in the business sector's view, left out. What does the business sector make of how the government's handled or is handling Trump's tariffs so far?
Well, we have to admit that in dealing with President Trump, it's not a very straightforward negotiation, because he does change his mind quite frequently. Whether the rationale behind it is something that we can understand, but we hope that we'll have to really look for other markets to grow our economy. As you said, that what was guaranteed to us is our export of electronics, and wire harness is still given that privileged tariff, so that's good. But other product line such as garments and footwear and fruits, those are things that we'll have to look for other markets to grow.
Well, our trouble with Trump's tariffs goes on top of the foreign investor perception issue that you mentioned on this program before you boarded that flight to KL. What sense did you get from the conversations there on the level of concern over the unresolved governance challenges here?
Well, before I left for the ASEAN meeting, I was surprised because the U.S. State Department came out, and it was published in our newspaper, about the pervasive corruption in our government. And it's the first time I've heard from the official statement from the U.S. about this corruption. So that's already a sign that they are aware of it. And one of the, I believe, politicians from the U.S. Had a private meeting with the ICI. And I can tell that they are holding back a bit, assessing the situation, assessing how this administration is handling it. You mentioned earlier that ICI has come out with a list of names that will be charged for whatever wrongdoing. But that in itself, I think, still falls short of what the public outcry regarding this flood protection corruption.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the updated insights, George. Do get some rest this Undas holiday season. George Barcelon of PCCI.
Thank you, Cathy.
North Luzon Expressway will open zipper lanes and suspend all roadworks to ease the expected Undas traffic surge. The management also advised motorists to have their RFIDs loaded to avoid the buildup in toll plazas. NLEX AVP for Traffic Operations Robin Ignacio says all lanes are now open, with more patrol crews and tow trucks deployed along major stretches. He also shared when traffic volume is expected to be at its peak.
Starting yesterday, all lanes are already open and available to our motorists, and this will be until Monday also. As of now, wala pa naman po tayo na monitor na pagdagsa ng mga motorista. We are expecting that this afternoon po hanggang evening, and also tomorrow early morning po siguro until afternoon. Yung influx po ng ating motorists, especially for those going to the provinces.
You're watching Money Talks. Coming up, the Asian Development Bank says they are ready for $1 billion financing for the country's grid system. And catch our conversation with Australian Ambassador to the Philippines, Mark Innes Brown, on the Diplomat's Corner. Keep it here on One News. Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang. In our inaugural segment, Diplomat's Corner, we delve into the international community's view on the Philippines. And we begin with Australia's Southeast Asia economic strategy and key investment opportunities for the Philippines at a time of elevated tariffs as well as governance challenges. Our guest is the Australian ambassador to the Philippines, officially assuming the role last August. A seasoned diplomat, he has served as Australia's ambassador to Turkey, Iran, and Iraq. He also had previous postings in Thailand and the U.S. Please welcome Ambassador Mark Innes Brown. So good to see you, Ambassador Mark. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Cathy. It's great to be here.
Has it been like? It's been 3 months since you took the role.
Well, it's been a very interesting 3 months, and what I have seen is that there's a lot going on between Australia and the Philippines, and there's also a lot of potential to do a lot more.
Let's take it from the perspective of the regional alliances, because the Philippines is right now trying to expand the regional alliances for security. And there is that defense cooperation agreement that both our nations are trying to work out. What's the latest on that?
Sure. Well, Australia and the Philippines have long had a military relationship which dates back to World War II. And in fact, just last week I was honoured to participate in 2 memorial services to mark operations at the end of the war in Tacloban and also in the Surigao Strait. So since then we've had cooperative activities. In 1995 we signed a cooperation agreement, and as a reflection of the expansion of defence ties in the meeting between our Defence Minister Richard Marles and the Philippines Defence Secretary just in August, we've decided to, we've signed a statement of intent to negotiate an updated defence cooperation agreement which reflects the enormous expansion of activity.
Took so long, since 1995.
Well, it was working well, but there's obviously a lot going on, and we decided we want to have more ambition and do more together.
That ambition and doing more together, to what would you attribute that, the motivations, and what do we get out of it for both nations?
Well, we're partners, and we're wanting to do more together to promote regional security, which is obviously a cornerstone of economic prosperity. So we've identified a number of areas. We want to be more interoperable. There's other areas that we can work together. So we're looking to do more.
What sort of areas then? I mean, we've just conducted the largest joint military exercise maybe about 2 months ago.
That's right.
Exercise Alon. What did we learn from there, and where do we go from here then? So
that was the second iteration of Exercise Alon, which happens every 2 years, and this exercise was an expansion of the inaugural operation, and it had cooperative activities in the air, on the land, and at sea, and it was focused on working better together and learning those lessons. So I'm sure as we move forward to the next iteration in 2 years, there'll be further activity. But there's a constant amount of cooperative activity, joint training exercises that go on throughout the year, which I've sort of noticed since I've been here.
And also military infrastructure projects, because as I understand, as we thresh out the Defense Cooperation Agreement, there are several military infrastructure projects that we're hoping to build together. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's an interest in doing more in that area. Yes, that was discussed during the Defence Ministers' meeting.
What sort of areas, so, and which points of maybe locations in the Philippines
well,
you're hoping to build together?
That's still being negotiated between the parties, so I won't engage in speculation, but yeah, certainly that's an area that we wish to do more together, as well as the operational cooperation.
As that involves infrastructure projects, and given the governance challenges we face now, what sort of impact do you think that might have at the pace at which you'd want to engage with the Philippines in terms of defense cooperation?
Well, I don't think that's a factor at this stage, Cathy. I think we're moving ahead in that. We've got some senior officials visiting shortly, and they'll be taking forward those discussions as a follow-up to the ministerial discussions here that happened in Manila in August.
And in fact, we're trying to beat the deadline for the ASEAN hosting, because that's a big part of the cooperation, isn't it, to be able to help out. Do you think the timelines are still intact for that, for the Philippine hosting of the ASEAN?
Well, I haven't heard anything to the contrary. I understand there's going to be a large briefing next month where the Philippines government will tell all partners, including Australia, what their plans are for next year.
All right. Apart from defense cooperation, there's also trade and investment,
Sure.
and in various industries. What's the status of that, of the missions that we were hoping to bring in, given the governance challenges that we face? Is that kind of slowed or maybe even been delayed to next year?
No, there's no delay at all, in fact. So we've been working for the last 2 years. We promulgated a Southeast Asia economic strategy, and I was fortunate enough to be the lead author of this report when I was based in Australia. And the objective of this is to promote increased trade and investment between Australia and Southeast Asia, including the Philippines. And we've been working on that since. We've supported a number of projects here in the Philippines. There's quite good trade growth as well. But just this week, I might add, as a sign of our ongoing commitment to this work, the Prime Minister Albanese announced when in KL 2 new significant investments to promote Australian investment in the region. One was $175 million in an investment fund run by IFM Investors, which is a major Australian institutional investor, and the other was $50 million in a fund set up by Plenary, which is a public-private partnership fund to promote investment. So there's been no slowing. In fact, the government's pushing ahead strongly.
And how do you sort that out? I mean, you've promulgated part of the economic strategy there, as you've shown us. How do you contextualize political risk? I mean, a lot of other ASEAN nations are facing it as well. We're not alone. But how do you contextualize that and still, come out thinking that the Philippines is a good place to invest?
Well, we take a long-term view, and I think most investors do take a long-term view. When we embarked on this project, as the title says, we're looking at the region out to 2040. So that's quite an expansive time, but we wanted to take a strategic approach to this, and investment decisions do take a long-term view, I'm sure. So that's the approach we're taking.
And is that the reason why it's defense cooperation first? Because we want to maintain peace, stability, and make sure rules of based order is instituted in the contested waters before business can really be made.
The two are not sequenced that way. We're pushing our bilateral cooperation here. There's a number of key strands. One of them is trade and investment, one of them is defence, one of them is civil maritime, and another is our our development cooperation program. So we're pushing forward on all of them at the same time. One is not contingent on the other.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. Are you spending Christmas here for the first time in your diplomatic career?
Yes, we'll be around here.
All right. I hope you enjoy it. It's the longest in the seasons.
Indeed.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. I much
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Australian Ambassador to the Philippines, Mark Innes-Brown, in our Diplomats Corner. Well, on to other news. The U.S. Federal Reserve cuts key interest rates by 25 basis points. But Chairman Jerome Powell is unsure if the Fed will deliver another one in December. The second straight quarter-point cut has brought interest rates to their lowest level in 3 years, with the Federal Open Market Committee voting 10-2 in favor of easing. Fed policymakers attribute the cut to slowing job gains, moderate economic growth, and, quote, somewhat elevated inflation. The decision comes as the Fed only has a partial view of the economy due to the weeks-long government shutdown. Powell is tempering expectations from the financial markets, and another cut is on the horizon.
In the committee's discussions at this meeting, there were strongly differing views about how to proceed in December. A further reduction in the policy rate at the December meeting is not a foregone conclusion. Far from it. Policy is not on a preset course.
U.S. markets ended a mixed bag Wednesday after Powell sowed doubt on a December rate cut. The Nasdaq climbed by over 0.5%. S&P 500 went virtually unchanged, and the Dow shed 74 points to end lower by 0.1%. U.S. 10-year Treasury yields ticked up following the Fed decision, settling at 4.056%. And gold prices increased to $3,983 per troy ounce. U.S. futures are little changed, with the Dow, the S&P, and the Nasdaq all up by 0.1% each. Asian markets are mixed after the Fed signaled it might not push through with a rate cut, and as investors watch the meeting between President Trump and Xi. South Korea's Kospi is up 0.8%, and Australia's ASX 200 is down 0.2%. Japan's Nikkei 225 falls 0.1%. And looking at our own markets here in the Philippines, PSCI opens Thursday slightly lower by less than 0.1%, 5,961. The stock market improved by 0.1% yesterday as investors continued with their bargain hunting. The broader all shares index jumped by 0.4%, with most local counters in the green. As for the Philippine peso, it opens today a tad weaker, 58.73 to the dollar. Peso rebounded after posting a record low on Tuesday, strengthening by 44 centavos to close at 58.69 against the greenback. The 10-year government bond yields ticked down to 5.98%. And the Asian Development Bank is looking to extend up to $1 billion financing to strengthen the Philippine grid system. The ADB says the transmission system has not been adequately strengthened in recent times to absorb renewable energy from offshore wind. Such investments, they said, are necessary to allow the capacity intake from upcoming huge loads of renewable energy projects. The $1 billion loan may be extended in a form of sovereign or non-sovereign financing. The ADB previously approved a loan package that will help establish the $190 million geothermal resource de-risking facility to stimulate geothermal investment in the Philippines. And Meralco's MGen Renewable Energy Incorporated, or MGreen, has gained greater control of solar developer SB New Energy Corporation. Businessman turned Batangas Congressman Leandro de Viste completed the sale of his shares worth 13.76 billion pesos through a block sale. The transaction involved MGreen's acquisition of 10.83 billion common shares of SPNEC in Solar Philippines Power Project Holdings. This brought MGreen's equity stake in SPNEC from 53.7% to 69.26%. De Vista's ownership has decreased to 9.35 billion shares, or 18.66% of SPNEC's common shares. Meralco and Signal, the owner of this channel, are both part of the MVP Group. And before we go, art meets advocacy in Cebu as hundreds of artists unite for a cause. Dale Israel has the story.
One of the biggest art festivals in the country was held in Cebu, featuring over 200 artists and galleries from all across the Philippines. More than 1,000 artworks were showcased, mostly from Cebu, Metro Manila, Bohol, Bacolod, and other regions. This year's event is even more special, with a silent auction where proceeds from the bidding will be donated to the victims of the strong earthquake that recently hit northern Cebu through the Christina Lee Foundation. But it's not just about the art display. The event also features a walking legacy tour honoring the late Cebuano artist Martino Abellana, a live demonstration from chalk and charcoal artist Mariano Mar Vidal, and a live figure painting using oil and coffee wash, among many other activities. Dubbed as Tops Art Fest 2025, the festival opened last Thursday night at the iconic Tops in Upland, Barangay Busay, offering a stunning 360-degree view of the entire Cebu Island from the mountaintop. Mga kapatid, Dale Israel, One News, Cebu.
That is it for Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang. It's a national holiday tomorrow, but we're here, so catch us again tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time. Have a great day ahead.